Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The floor dropped out from under us before the scream even left my throat. 1 second, I was standing in the immaculate, glass-walled office of Kalen Thorne, screaming at him for bankrupting my family's architectural firm. And the next, the world was a cacophony of twisting steel and shattering crystal. There was no build-up, no warning rumble, just a violent vertical shear as the fault line beneath the city finally snapped. The sound was deafening, a roar like a dying god. But what I remember most isn't the noise. It was the look in Kalen's eyes. The man who had spent the last decade systematically dismantling my life, the man who sneered at my tears at my father's funeral, didn't run for the door. He didn't dive under his heavy oak desk. As the ceiling fractured and the sky came crashing down, Kalen Thorne lunged across the room, tackling me with the force of a linebacker, his body a shield of expensive Italian wool and hard muscle wrapping around mine just as the darkness swallowed us whole. To understand why Kalen saving me was more shocking than the earthquake itself, you have to understand the hatred. It wasn't a passive dislike. It was an entity, a living thing that had breathed between us since university. I was Julian Vane, the illegitimate son of the Vane construction dynasty, desperate to prove I was more than a mistake. Kalen Thorne was the heir to the Thorne conglomerate, a corporate shark before he could even legally drink. We were rivals by birth, enemies by choice. 10 minutes before the quake, I had stormed into his office on the 45th floor of the Thorne Spire. He had just executed a hostile takeover of Vane Architects, my life's work, effectively rendering me destitute. "You're a monster," I had spat, slamming my hands on his desk. My trembling fingers left smudges on the polished mahogany. "You have everything, Kalen. The city, the contracts, the power. Why did you have to take the one thing I built with my own hands?" Kalen hadn't even looked up from his tablet. He sat there, a portrait of icy perfection. His hair was silver blonde, styled severely back, highlighting the sharp, predatory angles of his cheekbones. His eyes, the color of frozen violets, were devoid of warmth. "Because it was subpar, Julian," he had said, his voice a smooth baritone that grated on my nerves like sandpaper. "I did the city a favor. Your designs were sentimental garbage. I'm bulldozing your little studio tomorrow to make room for a parking lot. It's a better use of the space. You did this to hurt me?" I accused, tears of frustration stinging my eyes. "You've always hated me." Kalen finally looked up then. He stood, his 6'3" frame towering over me, casting a shadow that felt suffocating. He walked around the desk, stopping inches from me. I could smell him, sandalwood, cold rain, and the metallic tang of ozone. "Hate implies I have feelings for you, Julian," he sneered, leaning down so his breath ghosted over my ear. "I don't think about you at all. You are an insect. I crushed your company because you were in my way. Do not mistake my efficiency for passion." That was the moment the building groaned. The air pressure dropped instantly, popping my ears. The massive floor-to-ceiling windows bowed inward, spiderwebs of white cracks fracturing the view of the skyline. I froze. Panic is a funny thing. It doesn't make you move. It roots you to the spot. I stared at the glass, my brain unable to process that the solid earth was becoming fluid. "Julian!" The name was ripped from Kalen's throat, raw and terrified, a tone I had never heard from him. Before I could turn, he hit me. We hit the floor hard, sliding across the polished marble as the building tilted violently. The sensation was sickening, like being in an elevator whose cables had been cut. Debris began to rain down, chunks of drywall, light fixtures, heavy furniture. I squeezed my eyes shut, curling into a ball, waiting for the impact that would end me. I felt Kalen's weight press me into the carpet, his hand clamping over the back of my head, forcing my face into the crook of his neck. Then came the thunderous crash, the sensation of weight, and then silence. I don't know how much time passed before I woke up. Could have been minutes or hours. The air was thick with dust, tasting of pulverized concrete and old copper. It was pitch black, a darkness so absolute it felt heavy against my eyes. I coughed, the dust coating my throat. "Hello." My voice was a croak. "Don't move." A voice hissed near my ear. It was strained, tight with pain. "Kalen?" I said, "Don't move, you idiot." I tried to shift, but I was pinned. Not by debris, but by him. Kalen was essentially doing a plank over my body, his forearms bracketing my head, his legs interlocked with mine. Above us, mere inches from his back, was a jagged slab of concrete, part of the ceiling that had come down. I realized with a jolt of horror that if Kalen hadn't tackled me, if he hadn't shielded me with his own body, that slab would have crushed my skull. Are we trapped?" I whispered, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. "The structural integrity of the upper floors failed," Kalen murmured. His breathing was ragged, wet. "We are in a pocket. A void space created by the desk and a support beam. But it's unstable." I reached up, my hand trembling in the dark, and brushed against his shoulder. His suit jacket was wet. "Dickie, you're bleeding." "Superficial," he lied. I knew he was lying because his voice hitched when I touched him. "Why?" I asked, the confusion overriding the fear. "Why did you save me? You said I was an insect." "Shut up, Julian. Conserve your oxygen." "No." I pushed against his chest, though I had no leverage. "You destroyed my life. You humiliated me for 10 years. You should have let me die. Why is the great Kalen Thorne bleeding out in a hole to save a failure like me?" Kalen let out a low, shuddering breath. "Because you're loud and annoying, and I didn't want your ghost haunting my building." "You're unbelievable," I sobbed, the trauma finally breaking through. "Even now, you're a bastard. And you," he wheezed, "are ungrateful." We fell into silence. The darkness seemed to press in closer. Every so often, the rubble would shift, groaning above us, and Kalen would tense, his body becoming a rigid cage of muscle around me, protecting me from a threat I couldn't even see. Minutes turned into hours. The temperature began to drop. The initial adrenaline was fading, replaced by the cold reality of our situation. We were buried alive. "My leg," Kalen whispered after a long time. His voice was weaker now, lacking its usual sharp edge. "What?" I think the beam is on my leg." I froze. He hadn't said a word. "Is it crushed?" "I can't feel it anymore." "That's probably good." Tears hot and fast leaked from my eyes, tracking through the dust on my face. "Kalen, you need to shift your weight. Lean on me." "If I move," he gritted out, "the slab above us shifts. If it shifts, it crushes your chest." "I stay." "You're going to die if you don't move." "Then I die." The finality in his tone chilled me more than the air. "Why?" I demanded again, my voice breaking. "Tell me the truth. We're dying, Kalen. Just tell me the truth for once in your godforsaken life." There was a long pause. I could hear the shallow rattle of his breath. Then, in the dark, his hand moved. It was a slow, agonizing movement. His fingers, usually so cold and composed, were trembling violently. They found my hand where it lay on the shredded carpet. He interlaced his fingers with mine. His grip was weak, but desperate. "You were never the target, Julian," he whispered. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a devastating vulnerability. "What?" "The takeover. The insults. The public humiliation at the gala last year. Destroying your firm." He squeezed my hand. "It wasn't to hurt you. It was to make you look pathetic." I stared up into the darkness, my mind reeling. I don't understand." "Your father," Kalen coughed, a wet, ugly sound. "The chairman. He isn't just a builder, Julian. He washes money for the syndicate. He kills the liabilities." I felt the blood drain from my face. "That's a lie." "It's not. I found the ledger 3 years ago. He was grooming you to take the fall. He wanted to put you in charge of the shell company, let you sign the illegal contracts, and then feed you to the wolves when the feds came knocking. You were going to spend life in prison, or end up in a ditch." My breath hitched. So you. I had to make you useless, Kalen rasped. I had to make you so incompetent, so publicly visible as a failure, that the chairman wouldn't trust you with the operation. I had to destroy your reputation to save your life. I broke your wings, so you wouldn't fly into the sun. The revelation hit me harder than the debris. Every cruel word, every sneer, every time he had publicly embarrassed me, it was a performance. A brutal, calculated performance to paint a target on his own back and take the heat off me. You let me hate you, I whispered, my voice trembling. For years. You let me think you were the villain. It had to be real, Kalen murmured. His head dropped, his forehead resting against my shoulder. He was losing consciousness. The chairman has eyes everywhere. If you knew, you have a terrible poker face, Julian. You would have given it away. You had to truly hate me for him to believe I was just a rival crushing his son. Kalen? I choked out, squeezing his hand back. Kalen, stay with me. I'm tired, Jules, he sighed, using the nickname he hadn't used since our first year of university. I'm so tired of being the bad guy. You're not, I sobbed, shifting my body, trying to take some of his weight despite his protests. You're not the bad guy. You're an idiot. A self-sacrificing, arrogant idiot. But I saved you, he slurred. Did I? Did I save you? Yes. You saved me. Good. Then. It was worth it. His grip on my hand went slack. No! I screamed, the sound raw in the confined space. No, Kalen. Wake up. Don't you dare die on me now. Not after telling me that. You don't get to be a martyr. I tried to shake him, but the slab above groaned ominously. I froze, terrified. Kalen, please, I begged, pressing my face against his dusty hair. Please hold on. If you die, I swear I'll design the ugliest building in the world and name it after you. Nothing. Just the shallow, uneven rhythm of his breathing against my neck. I lay there in the dark, holding the hand of the man I thought was my nemesis, feeling the warmth of his blood seeping into my shirt. The hatred that had defined my life for so long evaporated, leaving behind a gaping, agonizing wound of regret. I had spent years cursing his name while he was silently carrying the weight of my safety on his shoulders. I closed my eyes and prayed. I prayed to a God I hadn't spoken to in years. Take everything else. Take the company, take the legacy. Just give him back to me. Time lost its meaning. I drifted in and out of consciousness, anchored only by the fading warmth of Kalen's hand. I hallucinated rescue. I heard drills that weren't there. I saw lights that were just sparks in my own retina. But then, a vibration. Real. Constant. A voice, muffled and distant. Thermal signature detected. 2 survivors. Here, I croaked. I tried to scream, but my throat was full of grit. We're here. The grinding of machinery above us was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Light, blinding, searing white light, pierced the darkness as a hydraulic jack lifted the slab just inches. Easy. Stabilize that beam, a rescue worker shouted. A face appeared in the gap. A woman in a helmet with a headlamp. Can you hear me? Get him out, I gasped, gesturing to Kalen. He's hurt bad. His leg. He's been holding it up. It took 4 firefighters to carefully extract us. They had to slide a board under Kalen, lifting the weight he had borne for hours. When they finally pulled him free, I saw the damage. His right leg was a mess of torn fabric and blood, crushed beneath the steel beam he had kept off of me. They pulled me out next. The fresh air hit my lungs like ice. Sirens wailed, flashing red and blue against the ruined cityscape. He's coding! A paramedic shouted near the ambulance where they had loaded Kalen. I tried to run to him, but my legs gave out. A blanket was wrapped around me, but I fought against the arms holding me back. Kalen! That's Kalen Thorne. Save him. I watched through a blur of tears as they shocked his chest. Once, twice, I saw his body arch. I saw the flat line on the monitor. Don't you leave me, I screamed internally. We haven't even started. Then a beep. A rhythm. Weak, but there. As they slammed the ambulance doors and sped away, I collapsed onto the asphalt, clutching the hand that he had held. My palm was stained with his blood. 3 weeks later, the private room in the best hospital in the city smelled of antiseptic and lilies. I hated the lilies. I threw them out every morning, but people kept sending them. Kalen was sitting up, finally. He looked pale, thinner. His leg was encased in a complex external fixator, metal rods pinning the shattered bones together. The doctors said he would walk again, but with a cane. He would never have that perfect, predatory stride again. He was staring out the window at the reconstruction cranes on the horizon. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching him. The man who destroyed me. The man who saved me. I walked in and set a cup of coffee on the bedside table. Black, 2 sugars. Exactly how he liked it in university, before we became enemies. Kalen turned. His violet eyes widened slightly. You shouldn't be here, Julian. The chairman. If he sees us together. The chairman is in federal custody, I said, my voice steady. I went to the authorities. I gave them the encrypted drives from your office safe. The ones you were hoarding for leverage. Kalen went still. You went into my safe. I'm an architect, Kalen. I know the layout of your office better than you do. I designed the initial concept for that tower before you stole it, remember? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. It was the first time I had ever seen him smile without malice. I didn't steal it. I acquired it. Semantics. I pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. He's gone, Kalen. The threat is gone. You don't have to protect me anymore. Kalen looked down at his hands, the hands that had held mine in the dark. I didn't think I'd survive. I told you too much. You told me the truth. I ruined your career, Julian. I took everything from you. You kept me alive, I corrected. I reached out and took his hand. His skin was warm this time. And honestly, I hated running that firm anyway. Too much paperwork. Kalen let out a scoff, a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He looked at our joined hands, then up at me, his gaze intense and searching. So, he whispered, what happens now? We're not enemies. We're not friends. No, I agreed, running my thumb over his knuckles. We're not friends. I leaned in, close enough to smell the clean soap of the hospital, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his violet eyes. You owe me a building, Thorn, I whispered. You destroyed mine. Now we're going to build one together. Something that won't fall down. Kalen stared at me, the mask of the cold CEO completely shattered, leaving only the man beneath. He turned his hand over, lacing his fingers with mine, holding on tight like he was afraid the earth would shake again. Okay, he breathed. Okay. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf. If you enjoyed seeing Kalen finally drop his mask and surrender, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments. Would you forgive a man who ruined your life to save it? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then.